Hi there, welcome to the start of Season 5. Can you believe it? Entering into the summer, and as I mentioned at the end of Season 4, things change a little bit. The type of work that I do changes. The jobs change from everyday maintenance type items to project type work. And so that's what we're going to be starting this season doing. One of the first projects that I will undertake is a sound barrier between our black box theater drama room and the common area, and I'll take you over there and show you what that's all about. Another project that I will be doing is what I have here on this drawing, and you probably can't see it too well from there, but what it is it's a material list and a SketchUp of a stage cart. We have these large stage platforms. They're 4 feet by 8 feet. They're 2 or 3 inches thick. They're big, they're heavy, they're cumbersome. And the way we store them right now is not, it's not ideal. They live on carts. Well, they actually don't even live on a cart. What they do is they have these clip-on wheels that hook to the bottom of a stage platform. The clips don't hold on to the platform very well. Maybe they did when they were new, but they're old and they're beat up now. And so you got these wheels that clamp onto the bottom of a platform, and then you just stack all the other platforms on top of that. The legs get stored in between the layers, and so you never really know how many legs you have. They get sandwiched in there, and you can't get at them without taking the stage pieces off. The wheel sets that you clip to this to the platform can only hold so much weight, and so you end up with 4 large stacks of stage platform pieces that take up a 4 foot by 8 foot space, and it takes up a lot of room in our little storage area that we keep them in. So what I'm building is a rolling rack that will hold all the pieces. First of all, they'll be vertical instead of laying down flat. And in doing it this way, I can make the rolling cart 3 feet wide as opposed to 4 feet wide. Be the same length, but that extra foot, believe it or not, will create a whole lot more room to move down the side of the area that we have them stored in. It will also, the cart is going to be much stronger. It's purpose built for this. I'm building it with 2-inch square tubing. With nice heavy-duty wheels, and in that way, the other thing is that previously, every time we wanted to take them between one campus to the next, so they live at the high school, but if we wanted to take them over to the elementary campus, which is half a kilometer down the road, to take them over there, we'd have to get a trailer or a truck, hand bomb them all onto the trailer, drive it over there, hand bomb them all off. In this way, you still have to handle them, but you don't have to handle them twice. We'll be able to take these carts and roll them all the way over to the elementary school. It gives us a lot more freedom, plus increased storage space. So I'm going to be building that this summer. So I have enough to get me going, for sure. I have other things as well. And yeah, so that's how we're going to start this season. A couple of projects. Oh, also the drama room itself, or the black box theater room itself, the piece that I made for that magnetic clip holder for the tables. I have to retrofit all of those. In that room, I also have to install 9 more seats in that theater room itself. So I'll be busy for a while, and I'm going to bring you along with me so you can see what's going on.
Buckle up for safety as I give you a day in the life of online. No, not online. I'm actually there. Facilities maintenance.
One of the things that I need to take care of here, as I was saying, is a sound barrier between the drama room and the common area here. And the reason we have an issue with sound is if you look up along the wall here, what I'm pointing at is a strip of drywall, 5/8 drywall. And if you look here, you can see there's a gap along there. Well, that gap runs all the way along to the end over here. And it never used to be an issue until we turned this room into a black box theater. Because one of the things that we needed to do in order to turn it into a black box theater was remove the ceiling. So there used to be a T-bar drop ceiling in here prior to the installation of any of these lights and whatnot. And the ceiling itself prevented any sound transmission from going up into the ceiling and over the wall. But now that ceiling is no longer there. And so what we have actually, you can just see that light strip up there. What we have is an open channel from the top of this wall here going into the other room. And so whatever is going on in this room, whether it's a class or kids are rehearsing or they're watching a movie, it's almost as loud in the common area over there as it is over here. So my goal is to soundproof that. And the way I'm going to do that is to continue that drywall piece all the way along. And then once I have the drywall in place and that gives me some backing, I will insulate along the top of the wall. And I have two different ways that I could do it. I could either use a rock salt insulation, or I could use a fire-rated spray foam. So behind me are my notes that are embedded into the ticket. Let me show you what we're looking at. So that strip that I have to insulate, a single piece of 5/8 drywall cut into 8-inch strips will give me 48 feet of coverage, so I can do the whole coverage with one sheet of drywall. Back of my truck is usually full of tools. All this for one sheet of drywall.
All that for a drop of blood.
Now, I need to decide whether I want to cut these strips into 8-foot lengths, or I could cross-cut them into 4-foot lengths. There are some advantages. First of all, the main advantage, whether I cut them in 4-foot lengths or 8-foot lengths, is I'm not packing a whole sheet of drywall from my truck all the way up these stairs. Let me show you what the deciding factor was. The deciding factor in whether or not I'm going to cut this in 8-foot strips or 4-foot is that I don't want to crawl into the back of the truck. I can pull the sheet out, I can make a cross cut, and there's a 4-foot piece. There's a 4-foot piece. There's a 4-foot piece. So I have to cut more pieces. But the other advantage too is I'm up and down a ladder to put these pieces in place, back and forth, up and down a ladder, up and down a ladder. And yeah, you get tired. Your calves get sore, your lower back gets tight. And it's just safer to take a 4-foot long piece up and down a ladder than it is an 8-foot long piece. This 5/8 drywall actually takes a bit of effort to break it off, even after you've cut it. I don't know if you can see it, if the camera picks it up. Oh yeah, it does. You see all the little fibers in here. That adds a lot of strength to the board. Well, looks like my cuts have been accurate. I've pretty much got everything here that I need to get this done. I've got my board, I've got some adhesive, I've got my nail sets. What these are, I'm using a 2-inch. I'll see how that embeds into the concrete. This whole concrete's pretty hard. This basically fires a 22 cartridge and slams that into the concrete up there. So between running some adhesive along the back and then dropping a pin near either end, it should work to put them in place. The only thing I might do is I might go get a bigger ladder. That 8-foot ladder, it's a bit of a reach to get up there, and I've got an old 10-footer sitting in the storage room that might be a safer option to use. I say might be. So, first trip up the ladder is to take one of the 4-foot pieces, position it
and with a pencil mark out any areas that I need to cut around.
I made a couple of pencil marks here and here to reference where the pipe is on either side. And then this one here, the end to end, that's the depth. So that would transfer to that. Now, for the time being, I'm actually going to save these little pieces because once these are in place, these will become my infill pieces around the piping, if you know what I mean. So I'm ready to install this piece, but I almost forgot. I've got my eyes. I need my ears. And you'll find out in a moment why. Okay, I've got my ears. I better dry fit this piece first, just to make sure it's going to fit the way I need it to before I put adhesive on the back of it and slam it into the wall. Well, would you look at that? I think that is going to fit. Now, these loads come in different sizes. Green is kind of your mid-strength, maybe mid to high if they're in 4 different sizes. I'm not quite sure. And the hope is that the green will be strong enough to drive the nail into the drywall and into the concrete, but not blow completely through. Well, I just went to trim the top off of this Gorilla Glue and it broke right there. Clearly I have a defective tube. It's not coming out the end where I need it to. It's actually blowing out the back side. That's a mess. Never had that happen before with one of these in this brand. I've had other brands do that, but not this one. I wonder if it's old stock. Well, I dug out what I could with a popsicle stick because I'm not going to waste it.
Fire in the hole!
Well, I think one is enough. Although, unfortunately, I let this slip down a little bit when I did it. So I'll have to be more careful to watch that. It's a little precarious, right? I'm standing up here on a ladder. I'm holding it over my head. I've got to push the ram set down in order to release the safety. I'll have to fill in that gap a little bit up there. But now, the next piece gets measured, notched, adhesive on the back, put up in place, and pinned into place again. And I think one will do. It just needs to be in there enough for the adhesive to set up. Once the adhesive sets up, this isn't going anywhere. Actually, I've got some number 4s, which are the next step up in power, so I will give that a shot on the next one.
A shot. You see what I did there?
The number 4 definitely sinks a little deeper, so I think I'll stick with that. So it's a bit of a tedious process.
Big bada boom coming up.
That one's looking pretty good as well. Now, because of that coax, I will have to do some sealing up around the edge, but I am gonna have to do that anyway. So, next piece. Not letting any of this go to waste. Also figured out that if I don't put it right along the very bottom and come up a little bit, and then I'm very careful not to touch the wall as I'm positioning my piece, because the last little bit you have to kind of slide it up into place. When I do that, I don't get as much squish out of the bottom. Well, that's better. This one that tucks in behind the rooftop heater that's coming out of the ceiling is the toughest one to get into place because it had to go all the way down to the far end. And I can't support it down there. But this Gorilla Glue adhesive, not sponsored, but I purchased the product. It has such good holding power that if I position it right and hold it there for a few seconds, it will stay and then allow me to drive my fastener in place. And that will set up and not go anywhere. And that was my second last piece. Last one's gonna go right there.
1 sheet of 5/8 drywall,
2 tubes of adhesive, 1222 driving bullet nail jobbers.
and the first step in creating a drywall fire break is up.
I had my doubts whether or not I'd get the drywall up before lunchtime. It's exactly 12 noon right now, so time for lunch. I was actually going to go into the drama room and show you what my next steps would be from that side once I'm completed out here. But I'm just looking at my mess, which I will clean up, of course, but I can see my dusty tracks going down the hall and into my office over there. So I will wait until I've cleaned this up before I track any of it into the drama room. And my lower back is tight. I've only got so many trips up and down the ladder, and I think I pretty much used most of them up. For the morning anyway. I do need to go back up and this afternoon after lunch and start in on the mudding and taping. All the seams, I need to seal those up because it is a fire break.
1 month later.
I load my drywall mud out. He didn't close the lid. He just set it on top of the can. That was a number of months ago. It actually smells kind of funky now, and it's got little lumps in it. So I'm gonna say that this bucket of mud is no longer good for doing normal drywall work. This is where a scaffold would come in very, very handy. Basically, I am sealing up the large gaps where I'm able to try and create a more seamless strip along the top there. I'm not going to fill in underneath where the actual trusses are, because that just doesn't serve any purpose. Once the mud is completely dry, I can come along then with a sealant and hit the edges, seal up any final areas. Now, depending on the circumstance when I'm drywalling, sometimes I will use mesh tape, sometimes I will use paper tape. In this application here, the mesh tape actually works quite nicely because I can stick it into position, and then because it's mesh, I can pack drywall through it. I can literally force it down through the mesh. So that it becomes a continuous fire break. Well, Operation Mud Pack is finished. I'll let that set up. Tomorrow I should be able to come back and hit that with a nice heavy polyurethane sealant around all the remaining little cracks. Welcome to the next day. I'm pretty happy with the way things are looking up here. Everything that I've taped and mudded has dried up completely, and now I just have to go along and seal with a polyurethane sealant. And as far as finishing things more, I'm not going to touch it after this. I took a look at what was already up here. I'll show you. And if I look at their joints and their sealing and their mudding and filling, it's a chunky monkey. So in contrast, mine will look like butter, so I think we'll be okay. I'm editing video, and as I'm doing so, I thought I would jump in and explain something with regards to the unfinished look. It's important to remember that that area was originally designed to be hidden up above a T-bar ceiling. You don't normally see that up there. So what I am doing, even though it is exposed, is in an area that is intended to be not visible. Do I think it looks nice? No, I don't. It would be much nicer if everything was finished the way an interior wall would normally be finished. But that amount of effort isn't worth doing in an area that would normally be hidden behind a ceiling, which is now exposed. Does that make sense? Whenever you go into a place that has exposed the ceiling in such a way, more modern downtown businesses where you've got all your exposed ducting and your ceiling joists and wiring and all of that stuff is up there, and all I've done is just paint over it. You expect it to look industrial, right? It's not supposed to look finished. And this falls into that category. Unfinished. Well, I have all the sealant that I think I should need for this project. And I've given a lot of thought as to whether or not I want to work from right to left or left to right. And it comes down to this. The ladder's there, so that's where I'm starting. So what I want to do is I want to lay my bead of sealant down, and I want to tool it. I'm going to use my finger, basically dip my finger in what is essentially paint thinner, mineral spirits, and that will give me a nice smooth edge, as well as it'll help push it into the area that I'm trying to seal. But I want to lay down as much as I can of the sealant first, if I can get up here without hitting my head on too many pipes. And again, a scaffold would have been so much nicer for this. I may have to get more. I bought 8 tubes of sealant, and I just used up half a tube. I'll show you what I mean by tooling. So I've just got this bottle of mineral spirits here, and if I soak the end of my finger, you can see how nicely that just glides along there. Just like that. barely reach the top. But I'm gonna stretch. Nope, I can't reach it. Problem is, this next rung up is where I start hitting my head and have to bend and twist around piping. One section done. So I will climb down, move the ladder all of 3 feet, and repeat the process for the next 47 feet. All right, true confession time. If I'm honest, the reason I started at that end over there and not back there had nothing to do with moving the ladder. I like to get the difficult stuff out of the way first, and in this case, the difficult stuff was all the piping that's in the way in terms of just being able to stand up on the ladder and get access in there. Also the conduit that's running through the actual drywall itself, so I had to seal up around those and above those, and it's just a whole lot of business going on. So once that's done and out of the way, the rest of it over there is pretty much smooth sailing. There's little in the way. Every 7.5 feet I've got a roof truss, and that's it. It's kind of how I eat my food too, if I think about it. If I have a plate of food and I've got like 3 things on the plate, I will start with what I like the least so I can finish with what I like the most. Is it just me, or is anyone else like that too?
Okay, so what you just watched over the last 30 minutes, between fitting the pieces and cutting them and adhering them to the wall and mudding and taping and sealing up with polyurethane sealant, took me about 9 hours and close to 200 trips up and down the ladder. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Maximum effort.